Hello once again and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I will demonstrate to you guys how to edit a video using Wondershare Filmora9. Wondershare Filmora9 is one of the easiest video editing softwares out there. It is very user-friendly and it provides many features. Without further ado, let's start a new project by clicking the New Project button. Here you'll be greeted with many things. First off, you will notice that there are 7 tabs at the top: Media, Audio, Title, Transitions, Effects, Elements, and Split Screen. And then you'll also notice that on the right side of the screen you'll see a preview screen, and at the bottom side of the screen you'll see a timeline. Now the first thing you want to do is to click on the Media tab, the first tab, and then you will immediately see there are 2 buttons right above the Media tab screen: Import and Record. You can click on the Import button to import all of your necessary files into the screen, or you can click on the Record button to record videos for your project. As an example, I will import a media file, which is a video that we've done before, and then you'll notice that it'll be on this side of the screen. Now once all of the files have been transferred or recorded, you can drag the files or file down to the timeline. Now before I do that, I just want to briefly mention that you can actually preview the file by clicking on it and pressing the play button on the preview screen. And as I said before, once you're satisfied with that, you can drag it down to the timeline, and then that's where you'll start editing your video. Now the timeline is where all of your media files are laid out in a linear fashion so you can easily edit them. By default, you will always see an empty video track and an empty audio track. And if you want to add more tracks, you have to click on the Add Track button, which is right here, and then you have to choose whether to add a video track or an audio track. And keep in mind that you have no limit to how many tracks you want to add. You'll also notice that there's a red cursor on the timeline which acts like your mouse cursor, but this one is obviously used for the timeline. You can move the red cursor to whichever part of the video track you want, as shown in the video. And you'll also notice that it has a cut button. Now to cut a video at a certain point, you have to move the red cursor to that specific point, which I'm struggling to do right now. And once it's at that specific point, you click on the video, so it'll be highlighted, and then you have to press the cut button. And then voila, it is now cut. And then you can either choose which one to delete or play around with. And if you want to delete that video file, you click on it so it'll be highlighted, and then press delete. And I forgot to mention that you can actually detach the audio of the file, and to do that you can right click on the video and choose detach audio. And you can do the same thing with the audio. You can cut the audio wherever you like, and for example I'll just go to this mark and cut the audio, and then you can delete it. And if you want to play with the settings of a video or an audio, you just double click on it and then it will show all of the settings, and then you can play around with the size, the compositing, the stabilization, the motion, which is the animation, the color settings. And if you do that on the audio, I'll just play around with the audio settings. Now the next tab I want to show you guys is the audio tab. This is where you can find free non-copyrighted music such as A Group Verve, or even sound effects such as camera snaps, cinematic horn, or chickens, etc. Some have been downloaded and some have not, as you can see by the download button. And you can drag any of the audio file into your timeline and choose where you want it to be. And as an example, I'll choose A Group Verve, and I'll drag it down to my timeline directly below my audio track, and it will automatically create a new track for me. And as like any ordinary media file, you can have its properties changed by double clicking on it, and then its properties will show up. And here is where you'll find the fade in and the fade out. You can play around with it, and you'll notice that it will have an effect on the audio, as you can see. But if you want to manually change the fades, you can actually just hover above the audio track, audio file, and you can just drag it back and forth, and you can see it change. It will go up and down, and this is for the fade in. and to fade out, you do the same thing. Now the next tab I want to show you guys is the Titles tab. The Titles tab is the tab that you will most likely use the most. It's where you can find various title samples to choose from and use, and you have a lot, and I mean a lot, of titles to choose from. And the samples range from simple titles to animated and even intricate titles. To use, simply drag your preferred title and place it wherever you want on your timeline. And as an example, I'll choose Credit 2, and you can place it on an already established track, or you can create a new track and place it wherever you like. Once a title has been placed, simply double click on it to change its properties. Now here you can change the font right here, and you have a lot of options to choose from. You can change the style, which is right here, and as you can see, the style is being changed. Some of the styles are very cool and some of them are just kind of boring. And then you can also change the color of the font, and you can also choose and change the size, and you can make it as big or as small as you want. Now on the Properties tab, you can click on the Advanced button to go into detail. This is where you can move the text easily and create your own text or text box. And as you can see, you can create your own text by clicking this Add Text Box button, which will create a new text, or you can create a certain shape and then you can add a text as shown right here, and then you can customize it as you wish. Most importantly, this is where you can edit the animation. You'll notice that in this Advanced tab there is a timeline right below the previous screen. Now since I haven't selected an animation, you'll see that the title track has nothing on it. It's just very plain. But if you do select an animation, and as an example I'll choose Random 2, you'll see that now the title track has these two bars. Now the two bars serve as the fades of the animation. You can drag either one of the bars back or forward to change how fast the animation comes in or out. And as you can see, the smaller the bar, the faster the animation will come out or in. So I prefer it to be quite long, so that the animation doesn't go out too fast. And then you'll also notice that if you hover your cursor to the end of the animation track, or the title track, I mean, your cursor will turn into these double-sided arrows right here, which means you can now change the duration of the animation by dragging it forward or backward, as you can see right here. Now the next tab is the Transitions tab. Now the Transitions tab is another tab where you will most likely use while editing. These transitions can be used to transition from one slide to another. To get started, simply drag any transition into the middle of two clips where they connect. And before I do that, you can see that there's an abundance of transitions you can choose from. But as an example, I'll choose the most simple one, which is Dissolve. And then you just drag it down where two clips meet. Now as you notice that I actually cut this video into two parts so I can show you guys how a transition works. Just drag it between these two, and you'll notice that you can actually place a transition on the first clip in the middle so they'll overlap, or at the starting of the second clip. If that's too hard for you, just place the transition anywhere between the two clips and double click on it to bring up its properties. And then you can choose where to have it to overlap, prefixed, or postfixed. The duration of the transition can also be played with in the Properties tab, and you can also change the duration by dragging either end of the transition to your desired point in the timeline. As you can see, if I zoom in now, you can drag it for as long as you want. If that's too complicated for you, you can just change the duration right here in its properties. and I'll change it to 10 seconds for example, and you'll see that it actually has an effect. Now the effects tab. The effects tab is a filter tab. Effects or filters usually change the overall look and feel of the clip without destroying the original clip. It's kind of similar to Instagram filters or any other social media filter, but this is mostly used for video or photo clips to make your video more interesting. If you have an effect selected, drag it down to one of your clips and the effect will be added instantly. And as you can see in this app, you will always have a lot of options to choose from, and I'll choose 70s because it looks cool. And then to have the effect actually be shown on the video, you have to drag it down to one of the clips and you'll see that it actually does change the overall look of the and feel of the clip. There you go. Now to change its properties, click on the video or the image clip that has the effect and scroll down until you see video effects right here. Here you can see how many effects there are, and you can change the intensity of the effect. And of course you can add as many effects as you want to one clip or even more. The second last tab is the Elements tab. Elements are fun little things that you can add to your video to spice things up. Well, they are, well, elements, and they are already animated for you. Now there are a variety of elements in this tab that you can choose from, but most of them haven't been downloaded yet. And just like any other media file, you can place them or drag them to whichever part of the timeline you want, and it'll be there for you. To play with its settings, you can double click on it, just like we've been talking about previously, and then it'll show up its properties, and then you can change its size and everything that you would like to change. The last and final tab is Split Screen tab. Split screen is basically what the word suggests. It splits the screen. You can choose over 20 split screens, and each split screen is unique. Some split screens split the screen to 2, like these ones, while some split it into 6, like these ones. You can add either a video clip or an image into the split screen. And as an example, I'll choose split screen 5, which splits the screen to 3, and then you can place it wherever you want on the timeline. Now here is where you can import images or video files or whatever, so it can be shown on the split screen. And as an example, I already have my own image and my own video, and then you can drag it to whichever split screen you want. And if you click on the Advanced tab, this will bring you to a screen similar to what you would see in the Titles tab screen. Here you can adjust a video / image that has been inserted, like this, like right here. You can change the size of an image or the size of a video, and then you can adjust the duration of the individual split screen right here. You can make it as long as you want or as short as you want. You can even add an animation to each split screen, which is right here at the Motion tab. And as an example, I'll choose Fade, and then for balloons 1, I'll choose Boom. And then you can play it on the preview screen. Now it's pretty important to note that sometimes while editing and you want to preview something on the preview screen, it might get a bit laggy. Now to get around that, you want to press on the render preview button right here, and then let it render everything out for smooth playback, as you can see right here. Now the longer the video, the longer your video, the longer it might take for it to render everything out. So it might take a while. Finally, once you have finished your project, always make sure to have it saved even though it has an autosave feature. Now to start exporting, click on the Export button, which is situated at the top portion of your screen. Here you can choose which format you want your project to be exported as, but since you're making a YouTube video, you probably want it to be exported as an MP4 file. But what's important here are the settings, which you can always adjust to your own liking. In the settings, you can choose the quality of your video from good, all the way up to best. But I prefer you make your own adjustments to choose your own resolution, frame rate, bitrate, and the audio's bitrate. My own settings here are as follows. My resolution is always at 920 by 1080p, which is the 1080p resolution, but if you want 4K, you gotta opt for 3840 by 2160, which is 4K. Now the frame rate is always at 30 FPS for me, but you can always go higher, all the way up to 60 FPS. Now keep this in mind, the higher the resolution and the higher the frame rate, the longer it'll take for the app to export your video. Now the bitrate is always at 8000 kbps. And last but not least, the audio's bitrate. Now by default, it's always at 160 kbps, but you have to always put it at 320 kbps because anything lower than that, the audio will sound less high quality. And then click OK. And make sure to always enable hardware acceleration for video encoding. And then you can click on export. Thank you once again for watching this tutorial. Please support us by clicking like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Don't forget to post your comments in the comment section below so we can get back to you immediately. See you soon.